Hello, world. This is Hello Chaos, the podcast about entrepreneurship, the ups and downs, ins and outs, highlights and low points, where we just have real conversations with founders and they're talking about their founder-led companies and hopefully things that you can take with you on your journey to make your next steps or make your next moves or just know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
I am your co-host, Jennifer Oladipo, a.k.a. Jenno.
And I am Jennifer Sutton, a.k.a. JJ, as my friends and family do call me. And today, our guest is Annette Njau from House of Takura, H-O-T, out of Houston, Texas. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Annette.
Thank you for having me.
So just give us the 3,000... what is it? 3,000 mile
that
view.
elevator
Yeah,
speech.
thank you about House of Takura. And I will just start by saying I covet so many things on the website, and knowing where they come from makes it just even more wonderful. So please tell us about
Yay,
HOT.
glad to hear you're coveting. Okay, so my elevator spiel. House of Takura is a travel bags and more inspired business, and we design and handcraft travel bags and more that are inspired by and made in Africa. That's literally it.
Beautiful.
And how did you come? Like, what made you want to start this company?
So it's so weird. I have always loved fashion, but I didn't go, the Fashion Institute or anything like that. I was in college. I was in law school, and when I graduated from law school, I designed like all my own dresses for my law school graduation, and then we had like a big graduation party, and I was like, okay, this is cute too. I designed that. And so, like, I've just always had this thing for fashion, and it goes all the way back. Always had this thing for fashion, and it goes all the way back to when I was even an undergrad. I used to do fashion shows, and when I was at Berea College, I was part of the African Students Association. We'd have like a whole week of like African Student Association, was like kind of a festival, a mini festival on campus, but we'd invite like people in the community, and they would come, and we always culminated it at the end with like a cultural show where we had like dancing and fashion. And so like I used to steal my mom and my aunt's clothing, like all their really cute traditional African clothing, and take it to campus and tell all my friends, okay, this is what we're wearing. And my aunt used to be like, when are you bringing back my stuff? Like I literally but the thing is, like, theirs was actually, because, they're a generation above me. So theirs was actually very traditional. So I just thought to myself one day, I was just like, you know what? I would love to do like African fashion, but with a modern sense. And I'd love it for it to be modern in the sense that I grew up in America. I was born in Sierra Leone, but I grew up in America. I have a different sense of fashion than my mom and her sisters did. And so, yeah, they were still fashionable, but, for their time. And so I was like, it would be good to fuse kind of like my African heritage with my American upbringing. And so House of Takura was kind of born out of that. It's been in my spirit for a long time, this business. I think since as early as 2007, maybe even earlier, but I didn't do anything about it till much later.
And what
I was like, when did you found?
Yeah.
So House of Takura. So we'll just say hot for short.
I like it.
Yeah.
When did it get hot? When did it start to get hot?
So in 2015, my baby sister, Christiana, was putting together, we live in Houston, Texas. We used to live in Ohio and then Kentucky, but now we live in Houston, Texas. But back then we did live in Houston, Texas. She was putting together a fashion show, and was for a charity organization. And she was just like, I'm putting together all these different designers. She had designers from like Canada, different parts of the country come in. She was just like, you need to launch your brand. This is my baby sister. She's like, you need to launch your brand. You've been thinking about it too long. You've just been sitting on it. You haven't done anything about it. And she was like, this is a perfect place for you to launch your brand. And I was just like, okay, or maybe you just need designers too. Give
and take.
Love the push over the cliff, but you probably need that too. Like, no, I need a House of Takura to be launched. And so I kind of worked on I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know I literally did not know what I feel like I was building the plane while flying it. And I still,
that's what happens.
Yeah, I still feel that way. And so I was just like, okay, I'm going to just put together a bunch of looks that I like, and then we're going to, take it to production. And so by production, I mean my seamstresses locally here in Houston, we're going to make the dresses.
Yeah.
And so, I put together a piece, and it was called Born in the Motherland, Made in the USA. It's kind of a play on words, a double entendre. I was born in Sierra Leone, but I grew up here, so America kind of made me. So that's how I started that whole thing. And that we started with just clothing. And we started with clothing because I loved fashion. And I didn't think about bags or anything like that. I just thought, I just want to get my stuff out there. And so in December of 2015, we launched on her little runway. I mean, granted, it was a success. People loved like her whole event. And so we were like the closing designer. And so we like literally every piece was loved by somebody in the audience. And at the end of it, they were like, "Oh my gosh, love your pieces. Where can we find you?" And I was just like,
you're like, I don't know. Here, right here.
I don't know where you can find me, because I didn't think about a website. I didn't think about, like social media at that point. I didn't think about any of that stuff. I'm just thinking to myself, oh, I'm putting an extension of myself out there, something I love.
Right.
And,
or if someone orders 50 of them.
Yeah, I had like literally, I had no production team that could handle that or anything like that. So I was just like, I don't know how you're going to find me. I didn't say that out loud. But I literally thought on my feet, and I was just like, you can find us on Instagram. And the only reason I said that was because I was like, it's easy to build an Instagram page like as soon as I get home. So, so literally as soon as I got home, I built an Instagram page, and I put like a couple of pictures that I had. And it was like, okay, so now people can find us on Instagram. I was like, okay, I need an email address. I need this. It was, like, to say the least, very much amateur. My designs weren't amateurish. They were really nice, but like the whole business aspect.
This was her oh shit moment, right? This was your big like, oh my good Lord.
Another one of those too. But yeah, so we started with clothing, and then in 2017 we pivoted to the bags, and my husband loved the pivot, and I'll tell you why. So with clothing, I spent the whole of like 2016 not even marketing it out there, just trying to find all the right people to make the designs and to hand make them. That was a big deal for me, for them to be handmade. And so I was able to find a small place in somewhere here in the United States. I think it was Minnesota. And they did a couple of pieces for me. And I was like, this is lovely. But my whole thing was like, I want to have them made by people who actually need the funds. And so then I started looking in Africa, obviously, because that's where I'm from. I wasn't going to look really anywhere else. That's where needed this opportunity that I was giving. And I needed that to feel connected to the motherland and to feel like I was doing something, giving back in a way that I hadn't done before. Mm-hmm. And so I basically, I was like, I told my mother, so my husband is from Kenya, and I've been to Kenya a few times, and I knew my mother-in-law had like some tailors that would just like do stuff for her here and there. So I was like, hey, can we use your, connect me with your tailors? And so she connected me with her tailors, and then we just started making stuff over there through the tailors. And later in 2017, end of 2016, we were able to do like a small production of like some of our pieces from the Born in the Motherland, Made in the USA collection. So
wow, okay,
that was awesome. But then we switched to the bags, and at the end of 2016, that's another story. If y'all want to hear about it, because really it's focused on bags now.
That's a pivot. That's a big pivot.
Why did you pivot?
Pivot. It's a huge pivot, and part of the reason we pivoted is like we realized. First of all, with the clothing, when you're dealing with African textiles, like certain types of African textiles, and for us, it was cotton. There's no stretch. There's no give, right? Mm-hmm. So your sizing, to me, it almost has to be made to fit your body.
Yeah.
It's to look really good and rest well. Now, the stuff we had, people still bought, you know what I'm saying? Because I did all these local markets, people loved it, but you could tell, like, sometimes we would have to adjust here, adjust there. And so the clothing was a little bit hard in that sense. I was like, well, you know what? We're going to go to pre-order only on the clothing. And so when we pivoted, how we pivoted was a friend of mine who had bought some items from me in the past, asked me one day, she was like, well, can you make bags? And in my head, I was just like, no, I cannot. But now I'm like, yes, I can.
Yes, you can. Because that is the mark of a true entrepreneur. It's always, yeah, I'll figure it out, right?
Figure it out. Exactly.
I'll figure it out.
Exactly. And so she was very much into like very high end stuff. She was an older lady, like very much into like Louis Vuitton, Chanel, and all that stuff. And so she was like, "Yeah, make me a bag that I can take places on the weekend." I was like, "Oh, so like a weekender?" I was like, "So you want me to actually source fabrics, source all the materials and all of that, and you can choose your fabric?" And she was like, "Yeah." So I sourced different fabrics. She wanted it African inspired, so I sourced the different fabrics, and then she picked one of the ones that I showed to her. And then she was like, "Yeah, so just make me this bag and we'll see." And so after I sourced the fabric, I was like, I need somebody to make this bag. After I so then luckily my sister-in-law was in Kenya at the time, because I had just come back from Kenya. My sister-in-law was in Kenya at the time, and I was just like, "Hey, Tina, I need a bag lady." And she was like, "What?" Like, what, a bag lady? I was like, "Yes, I need somebody who makes bags." And I said, "I don't care if they're ugly bags. All I care about is that the stitching has to be like perfect, and it has to be handmade, and it has to be people who really need this opportunity." And so she like literally goes to like the shopping center. It's like a shopping center is very
the markets. Yeah,
basically the market. She goes to the market like about 10 minutes away from her house, and she's just looking around, looking at the different vendors who are there and what they're doing. And she finds this lady named Emily who had a little stand that had all these ugly bags, like ugly bags hanging on the thing. And so she was like, and then she remembered, I said, "I don't care if they're ugly. I just need to know about the stitching." And so she looked at the stitching. She was like, "The stitching is really, really, really excellent." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "The reason I don't care about the ugly bags is because I'm going to do all the fabric sourcing, all of that stuff, pick all of that stuff out. All she has to do is get a team together and put these things together based on my specifications, based on my designs and all of that stuff." She was like, "Okay, well, we got this." And so, I told her all the fabrics I needed. So I had my tailors go buy the fabrics or whatever. Gave them to my sister-in-law. And my sister-in-law did the connection with the bag lady. And so she made a couple of samples. And when I brought the bag back to the friend of mine, I say friend loosely. She's really a client. And the reason I say friend loosely is because she's really so kind. And I used to work out with her and teach her. I teach Zumba, so she used to be in one of my classes. But we don't keep up with each other on a daily basis. But she always, like, if she needs a bag, she'll call me. If she needs to, and sometimes when she buys a bag, she'll buy an extra one to gift a friend. So she's kind of like my friend, but like a client friend.
Yeah.
I brought the bag back, and I gave it to her, and then I had made a little makeup toiletry bag to go with it. And she looked at this bag. She examined it. She has a very keen eye. She said, "You undercharged me for this bag, right?"
Oh, that's a friend. That's a friend.
Good.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I know. I just needed to figure out that I could do it first.
Yeah. You were my guinea pig.
I told her I could do it, and I didn't know if I could. So that was literally the pivot to the bags. And my husband was like, "Yes, the bags are easy. You know why?" He was just like, "They're one size fits all.
Yeah.
Don't really have to worry about having the perfect fit, or, people returning it, or people not.
Or just like the complexity of like sizing and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, from a production perspective, that's a lot.
Remember when we did our first photo shoot, I brought some of my things and I was like, some of my stuff, and I was like, oh, my auntie sent this, because it's like, it's a big deal. Like, it's my size. It's perfect for me. Like, everything always just looks so good. So some of our, I think actually the photo we're using right now is from Nigeria. That's in the magazines right now. But
so, and then where did Hot come from? The House of Takura. Where did that name come from?
Okay, so the funny thing is, Takura is the name of my son, and not many people know that. Only people who know me personally. Takura means, it's a word from the Shona language in Zimbabwe, and it means to grow, literally, like to grow and to mature. And so for me, a person with the name Takura, their attributes are high creative ability, cares for humanity, wants to do great things for society. All those attributes was what I wanted in my son. I believe in naming people how you want them to be. That's just me personally. I believe in naming children how you want them to be. And so I wanted Takura to be all of that. And so I named him Takura. That was his first name. So when I decided to do this business, I was like, well, House of Takura is a perfect name, because first of all, it's hot. And then second of all, it means to grow. It means high creative ability. We want to be a company that grows. We want to be a company that's known for creative ability. We want to be a company that, reaches and touches people and does great things for humanity. So it was just like the name I gave my son was basically the name I gave my company.
And your business is also your child.
Yeah. Yes, true. Like all of that double meaning, double entendre.
Yeah. So one of the things I really was hoping you could help educate folks about is, you have made your sourcing decisions, your labor decisions really based on your values and
your mission.
And, but that, and for what you wanted, has turned out not to be, you could have made things much more easily, much more cheaply, much more quickly, and gotten good quality, right? And so for people who are like, okay, there are lots of people who are even, well, we'll just start up this way, and then we'll get to doing things the way we want. So what kind of challenges did you face in taking a
risk?
Yeah, I mean, it's risky to choose the path that's not the easiest and not the cheapest.
So that's the thing, right? My company is almost completely bootstrapped. Like, all the money you see, all of the things you see out there, like, it comes from our personal pockets. My husband and I, that's where it comes from. It's definitely could have been much easier for me to say, I'm going to have all my stuff made in China. I know a lot of African print brands that have their clothing and all of that stuff made in China. It's definitely easier for me to say that when I have my stuff made in China, I don't have to not worry much about, a lot of QC quality checking and all of that stuff, because they have that all going on in their factories, because they use a bunch of factories, right? All of that would have been easier to do, but I've never been the kind of person who took an easy road anywhere. My dad taught me that there's dignity in every single thing that you do, and everything that you do, make sure that at the end of the day, you're proud of it and you're proud to say that this is your legacy. When I left Sierra Leone, when I was 10 years old, there was about to be a civil war, and we didn't know, that's why we were fleeing or whatever. We just, the Civil War was coming down the pike, and there'd been rumblings of it. And I think my mom and dad knew about it. So we were able to leave the country. And my dad was able to be, he was a professor. He came as a visiting professor at Kent State University. There are so many people that live in nations that don't have those opportunities, right? There were so many kids that were maimed in Sierra Leone during that war, so many people that died. I see remnants of just seeing that violence all the time. When I go to Sierra Leone, I see it in my cousins having gone through that. I see the trauma, the after effects of all of that still. And I was able to leave that situation before it even happened and given the opportunity to be here, right? Yeah. So now my thing is I want to provide people opportunities where they are, because most people don't have the opportunity to leave their country, right? Or leave their situation. So for me, providing opportunities for people where they are so they can better themselves and even just take pride in the works of their hands and take pride in who they are, you know, that's the kind of legacy I want to leave. Yeah, I could have taken the easy way out.
Yeah.
And yes, it's been a long road. Oh God, it's been a long road, but ultimately my values require me to do things this way. And I don't ever want to be in a situation or in a business where my values aren't being felt on the other side of it, right? Our company is not just inward looking, it's outward looking. And in outward looking, I mean, it literally looks to the people who do who make our it makes the lives of the people who make our bags better, but it also makes lives of people who have nothing to do with our bags better. We do partner with nonprofits on the continent that do work with, we first partnered with Girls Empowerment Sierra Leone, because I'm from Sierra Leone, and they work with girls from 12 to 16 years of age. They put together programs for them, reminding them of their worth and the fact that they can be whomever they want to be. And then, we work with there's a group called Masai Water Project. They do a lot of human rights stuff in Tanzania. And so we work with them in the sense that if you buy a backpack, we give a backpack to some of the kids, the Masai kids in very rural areas. So it's not easy for people. And because I come from, I've never, to be honest, when I was there, my dad was a judge. So it's not like I was in a situation where it was so bad, I was living in poverty. I had a roof over my head every day. I had a driver to take me to school every day. It was like we were living the life, But then, I feel like that's my blessing that God gave me. And so for me to be able to use all the things that I've learned in America to affect people on the continent, really is what I want to do in this world. So I always tell people, I could make a lot more money than I'm making by taking my stuff to China. But
I think that's what makes your brand special and unique, is that not everybody thinks that way.
Yeah.
I think that's and it's interesting. You're a female owned business and a female founder, and what we see as stats is female-led businesses, female-owned businesses give back to the community that they want to serve exponentially more than any male counterpart. And I think you're just exemplifying that. And so you should feel really good. You're a part of a great sisterhood, it's wonderful to hear.
I'm in good company. Yeah.
That's right.
I don't know. It's been a good journey. Yeah, it could have been, like I said, much easier, but again.
And that thoughtfulness, it comes through all the way through, to the end product. I said, I wasn't joking. There are just things that I have drooled over and that, on the website, but it's but you can see it comes through.
Yeah.
This
it's part of your brand.
So, yeah.
It's totally
so
about your
thoughtfully
brand.
made. Before I knew any of the rest of it, before I was even thinking or caring about who or how it was made. But then it all clicks and it makes sense because you see it in the uniqueness of the designs and in just the care of, the way everything is there.
Yes,
and
yes,
Anita, as you look in the horizon of your, sorry.
It's okay.
I know, that's why I was like, and it's funny. My mom's middle name is Anita. So my aunts, her sisters call my mom Anita and not by her first name. So when I heard Anita, it's it immediately clicked. Sorry, Annette, not your sister. When you look at the horizon of, what's next for the House of Takura, what are your biggest challenges that you feel like you're facing?
Okay, so I will say I have a few, right? I would say first thing is scaling. Scaling is not easy when you're dealing with handcrafted products, number one, and then you're dealing with limited edition products. Because I don't know how much you know about the brand, but we literally will make only a certain number of bags in a certain fabric, and then we're done. And we just move on because we want people to feel the love and the compassion and the uniqueness that goes into all of our brand, all of our bags. So we do that intentionally, right? So doing that though puts me in a different category than any other fashion brand, I think, because it's so hard to scale when you're dealing with those kinds of principles, like, because you're making smaller batches. When you're doing advertising, like on a like maybe a social media advertising, and you're pushing a certain product, and maybe you only have 10 or 15 of them, and then they run out, and it's like people keep sending emails. Let me know when this product is back. Let me know when this product is back. And I'm like, and then you have to keep telling them, hey, we still have the same bag silhouette. You just have to pick a different print because the cornerstone of the brand is this, or like one of our unique selling points is this. So it makes it definitely hard to scale if you don't have what's that called?
A mass production model.
Yeah, mass production label. Yeah, for sure. So I think that's one of my challenges, but
or maybe it's not your challenge. Maybe that's your greatest asset of you literally live a FOMO. Everybody is like the fear of missing out of I better order immediately.
You might not see it again. Yes. That's right. So I think that's exactly how I think of it. I think of it as, for me, it's like I can either decide I want to mass produce, or I can stick to the values of this brand and, just produce a certain amount. And then when it's gone, and hope that people come back because they love the actual bag silhouette and they find another print that they love. And a lot of times they do. So, it's not a complete loss. I feel like I have to be true to myself and be true to the brand. So it just, again, I want to make money. Let's not pretend like nobody wants to make money.
That's why we're in business, right?
Millions of dollars. I want this brand to live way beyond my years. I want the legacy to be like, oh, wow, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, this brand is still going strong. Yeah, I want all of that. But I don't want to sacrifice, like some of the cornerstones that the way I built the brand and why I like it that way. So
absolutely.
That's one challenge. I would say another challenge, and you guys probably already know this, is capital.
Yeah.
Capital is always a challenge for women entrepreneurs, and especially for Black women entrepreneurs. And it's, I mean, for me, it's especially a challenge because the products that I put out are so particular, right? And so there might be people, it might not be, a product of mass appeal, so to speak. And so it's harder to tell people, hey, this is going to be a successful brand. You want to jump in the beginning, or this is going to be like this brand is going to blow up because they go and they look at the products and they're like, this caters to a particular taste, which is part of the reason I actually started doing we do the wooden sunglasses now. And part of the reason I started doing like all leather exteriors on some of the bags for people who are not bold with their fashion, but on the all leather exterior, you still get a little bit of print on the inside. So we started doing some of that. But to be frank, the printed stuff sells more than the all leather stuff.
Yeah. Because it's different.
It's different. And people like different. And so capital is hard, and especially because it's, the business is bootstrapped too. So we have a kid in college. It's like, and we're paying for his college so he can graduate without college debt, because that is a goal of mine always, is to make sure that my kid has at least advanced the family, the generational wealth further than I did, because I have college. I didn't have that many college loans because I paid those off, but I definitely have law school loans, which I'm still trying to pay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're trying to build the economic mobility for your family. I mean, that's
exactly. And it's so funny how it's not just for my family, it's also the families of the people that I employ.
All the makers.
That's right. All the makers. Yeah.
So we need
so
that.
When you've been addressing capital, has it been trying to having financial partnerships with just, standard financial institutions, or is it going through like a VC or angel investor?
I've never done VC.
Your story might be more complex than others.
You haven't
I've never done VC or angel investor. And part of the reason I haven't done that is because I do recognize that scaling might be tough in the business that I'm in with respect to what I'm doing. And honestly, I need people to buy into the vision. Like if you're not bought into the vision wholeheartedly, like you don't feel this in your heart, then maybe this brand is not for you, because unless you buy into the vision, you'll question a lot of the things that I do.
That's right.
You'll question why, I'm not having certain things made elsewhere, or you'll question why, I'm shipping the way I ship, or you'll question why I'm doing, the either a 10% proceeds go to nonprofits that are doing this kind of work here, or the buy one, give one. So I need somebody to be bought in emotionally,
right?
To be able to say, hey, let's give you some of this percentage of this brand, and you give us some of your money.
Right.
It's so weird. It's like, and I think part of the reason too is that I named the brand House of Takura after my son. And my husband has told me over and over again, even in the beginning when I was doing that, he was like, are you sure you want to do this? I was like, why? He's like, you're naming the brand after your kid. You're never going to sell it. Like, it's never going to be some brand that's apart from yourself that you can look at it as a strictly business, just business deal. And I'm like, well, then I wouldn't even be in business if I'm just in a brand that is strictly business for me. I might as well just go to work for somebody else. I want to be an entrepreneur because I'm passionate about the brand. And the reasons I'm passionate about the brand are so much more humanitarian than they are, business, so to speak.
Yeah. Right.
So,
and have you sourced any like local resources like the Small Business Development Council or incubators or accelerators in the community that could sit and maybe give some advice of how do you face the challenges of scalability, but with the mission of the brand by retaining
I have not done that. And I should. Another challenge is time.
Yeah.
So like, this brand is bootstrapped. That means I have to work a 9 to 5, and a lot of times it's a 9 to 9 because I work a lot of hours during the day. I'm a lawyer, so I do all my legal work during the day, and then not just that it's bootstrapped, we pay for our kids' college out of pocket, those kind of things,
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a challenge with respect to my time. A lot of things vie for my time, and I only have a limited amount of time to give to each right now. Now, my kid is going to be done with school in like 2 years, so
off the payroll, people. Or he's going to work for the House of Takura. And,
no, he's not. He needs to go work for somebody else first.
Like completely off the payroll, dude. Let's go.
It's a great idea to search all of that stuff. And I always tell myself when I have usually on a weekend when I have a couple of hours, I sit down and I do some research on how to do certain things better or how to outsource some of this stuff. So right now I'm actually looking into outsourcing like my social media optimization and my lead generation so that I don't have to deal with that. And I can free myself up to do other things like go learn more, on how to scale and stuff like that.
I think you're talking to a lot of founders and entrepreneurs who are facing the same challenges as you are of time and resources and having to balance all of that.
So from your perspective, what is some advice that you would have maybe one or two just really key things that have been important in building a really mission-driven, passion-driven business?
Oh gosh. I would definitely say, make sure whatever it is, it's mission driven, it's passion driven, it's an extension of you and it's really authentic. Like when people see the House of Takura brand and if they know me, they see me, right? Like it's literally an extension of me. So no matter what people see on the outside of the brand, like the brand facing side, when they reach the founder, ultimately, it's so seamless. And it's like, oh, this is exactly how I imagined you would be. Or,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So make sure it's literally an extension of you. I mean, usually it is like people say, oh, you have a kid, and it's like your heart living outside of your body. Right. Yeah. That's really what this is about too, is like, especially if it's mission driven and purpose driven, it's going to be your heart living outside of your body, you know? So I would definitely say do something that is an extension of you. I would say do it scared and do it without knowing everything. I know I hear this, you know, people probably say this a lot, but what for me is just like continuously doing, because otherwise you're just not, it's just not, you know, like when I sat on this brand from early as 2007, I didn't do anything about it until 2015. How far along would I be right now had I just taken the leap back then?
Yeah.
I think about that. Of course, I have no regrets. I wouldn't change any. I personally believe that everything happens in its time and for a purpose and the way it's supposed to happen. So it's not like I regret any of, you know, what I did. But I just think to myself, hey, you know, you don't have to know everything about something to be able to just do it, so long as you're passionate about it. Yeah. So that's important. And I think one of the gaps that, I don't know if you guys, we talked about gaps, but one of the gaps I'm thinking about, mentoring. Make sure, I feel like there's a huge mentoring gap here for me. I don't know a lot of, you know, like huge business people. I do now. I have a small community on Facebook that I tap into every once in a while, but it's still like very much virtual. Like a lot of people in the fashion industry, you know, if I lived in New York, I could probably tap into all of that networking. Houston is not a fashion city, so to speak. Right. So it's a little harder, but if you're in a particular business, seek out mentors that can help guide you. I think that's huge. Hugely what I'm missing in my gaps right now. So I would definitely say that that's a big deal. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I know.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I know that flew by.
So quick.
It was so quick. I love the conversation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish we could keep on talking. But so now the question that you have such great answers to: where can people find you if they want to learn more, engage more, buy more? It's all set up now.
On Instagram, clearly.
Right, exactly. So you can find me on our website, www.houseoftakura.com. And you can use a chat button.
Sorry, Takura.
Yes. And you can use a chat button if you wanted to reach us, like, you know, through the chat on the website. But we are definitely on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn, but we're not. LinkedIn is just, you know, our business page and stuff like that. But where to find us and shop? Definitely on our website and on Instagram and Facebook. We actually have shops enabled on Instagram and Facebook, so you can actually check out without ever leaving those platforms if you wanted to.
Nice. Yeah.
That's where you find us.
Well, and for our listeners out there where you can watch this podcast or any others, you can find Hello Chaos Podcast on every podcast platform.
All the platforms.
Or you can come to the website, which is Orange Whip, WIP, orangewhip.com, and you can read our digital magazines, or go to the Hello Chaos page and watch and listen to our wonderful stories. But
Thank you so much, Annette. This has been a pleasure, and best of luck. I'm like so excited to see what's next.
Same here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks for the connection.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.